The last conversation that I had with my grandmother when she was on her last moments was about home economics. It sounds like a kind of a strange topic to talk about the matriarch with. And my grandmother is my father's mother. Um, is just a beautifully unique woman, but we we bonded over that when I first met her. I didn't meet my father's mother until I came to the States. My father's mother was an old white lady that walked with Martin Luther King. Give you an idea, had been a lifelong Catholic that left the church because of their alignment with white supremacy. So you have to understand why I saw her different. Okay, but what she did is she changed the way and what I understood about what home economics is. See, I'm what, 44 years old, 43 years old. I should probably figure that out, right? But the main thing is that I actually remember taking home ec classes. I don't know if anyone that's younger ever had that opportunity, but in home economics, you learn how to sew, you learn how to repair things. My father actually took over some of that program as an industrial art teacher, and you also learn how to like work on your cars, budget for your house, mend and sew, learn how to cook, sanitation, understandings about childcare, basic living stuff, right? Things that I kind of took for granted. Now, our conversation, the one I had with my grandmother, was about the Freedom Gardens. Give me a little thing here if you've ever, you're familiar with what a Freedom Garden is, or you remember what those are. But that was during the Depression of World War II era, where everyone had to be taking care of their own gardens in a more specific way. And what I misunderstood about it was that it wasn't a let me show you how I can garden. People aren't just growing some tomatoes just for show. It was deeply entwined with making sure that the nutritional content of what you were growing was going to meet what your family's going to need. Your caloric intake was going to be there. You have to take a look at how much land did you have? How much time did you have? How could you grow enough for your family? Maybe enough to share, maybe enough to barter or sell, that kind of thing, right? Same things, like if you have a trade or a skill, could you make enough to be able to then help somebody else? That way you're taking the pressure off of something else, because at that point resources were scarce. Now obviously we're not currently openly or legally in World War right now. I mean, some people might argue otherwise, but we're not being asked to really hold on to our resources in the same way. But I really didn't really understand how much more was involved with that form of gardening, how much it included nutrition and making sure that you're healthy. The same things, but all the other things, how you're cooking, your preservation, a lot of this canning, a lot of this fermenting, you would learn there. Now, to be fair, in our public school education system, massive components of the home ec philosophy were removed, either out of expediency or relevance. I mean, obviously, if most folks don't have space for a garden, I would imagine that it wouldn't make a lot of sense for the public schools to be spending the time teaching you how to grow food when you don't have space to do that. But these classes were typically looked at, though, as something that wasn't a useful class. It was a domestic kind of thing. It wasn't seen as utilitarian. That's not where the smart kids went. Although if you were smart, you probably would have done that. You probably would have gone and enjoyed your home ec classes. In thinking about that, I kind of realized something, that I've been struggling with this YouTube channel in particular because my interests are a little over the place, right? I'm really into my bike. I go riding as often as I can. It's my primary transportation mode. Although lately, because of health, I've had to drive. I've just been not winning so much on that end. But when I'm able to, I prefer to cycle, and I want to talk about that. I also like going outside and hiking, so maybe I'll talk about that. But a big part of my life right now is my nutrition, my health, staying in shape, getting better food in me on a consistent basis because of my health issues. For everything from age and also some medical things have happened, right? I want to talk about that, but I'm not sure, you can just do that on one channel. And also, just basic things, I got a chance to camp host during COVID, right? And the campers at I was in Tahoe National Forest, and the campers there were just that happy. They just were over the moon at, first of all, seeing young people camp hosting. If you don't know what that is the federal government will give you a little bit of a stipend. You can go out there, you're out there in the woods, and you just a host at a national park. And what I learned though is that a lot of folks just don't have the basic skills that they need to be able to be go out camping. They've never been before, they didn't grow up doing it, or it's been a long time and rules have changed, and everyone seemed too scared to ask for a hand up on how to actually figure that out. And I didn't even encounter situations where you had new hunters out, not really understanding the regs, and guys are sitting there trying to shoot deer from their tent. I'm like, hey, buddy, you got that permit, okay? You can. This is where you can go do the shooting. And I felt like I had massive privilege because my father, who didn't put me through Boy Scouts, did put me through a lot of that education. I got to learn a considerable amount about how to be an outdoorsman from my old man, which was, I guess I didn't realize how foundational and fundamental that knowledge was. And I want to talk about that, right? Because I'm like, hey, let's bring back learning and being curious. And I need to stay in shape. And when I know that when I record some videos of working out and getting there's a response, I start feeling better. I'm not a fitness expert. I'm also not a gardening expert. I'm not a biking expert. I'm not a gut nutrition expert, but I have studied a considerable about all of those things. I'm a very curious person. I've delved into it. My life depends on it. I need to be able to do that. Plus, vocationally, I've done all these things. I've shot quite a bit of things for some bike brands. I've got a chance to start some bike groups. I'm into it, but I'm not the man. I don't know the most amount of stuff. I'm still learning all things. Same thing with farming. I've actually worked on several farms. I grew up on a ranch and farming, but I have never run my own completely. I've had a very, very aggressive garden, as one might say, but that's still not the same thing, right? So in this meditation, I was thinking, why don't I just do home economics as the theme of this, where I do integrate all those things, because all of these things are, they are related. What do you think? Is this something that makes sense? Is it too wide? Is it too vague? Too many things? No. Movement, nutrition, gut health, growing food, crafting, navigation, just learning basic life skills. And also a heavy, bit on food, on growing food, but really just learning basic life skills. I'm gonna try to keep it to like fitness things, outdoor navigation stuff. So like biking, hiking, whatever, right? So you can stay moving, give you the motivation for that. Lots of growing. I'm doing mushrooms, lots of microgreens, ginger right now. I'd love to talk about that process of developing some really fun hydroponic systems for indoor grows for houseplants. That's not food, but your environment being beautiful is helpful. I'd love to talk about some of that. Let me know if this is something that anyone would be interested in seeing, witnessing. If there's any utility for home economics, YouTube. And I'm curious what the audience might be. I don't know. Is it going to be a bunch of old head guys like myself? Is this going to be something for everybody? I don't know who is going to hear my voice and decide that that my story is worth it. But what I will do, I promise to be genuinely me, and we'll find out who comes to that. And the more we make a community of this, maybe the more I'll be able to tailor things to what folks are listening to, so that I give you guys what you need. All right, Buffalo Ranger out.